You know what's scary about Horrid Henry? When you're a kid watching it, you see the title and go, Horrid Henry. Okay, so the kid's the problem. Easy. But then, you grow up, you rewatch it, and you'll realize something really concerning. His parents aren't exactly role models either, especially his mom, Francesca.
You don't always have to be cross.
And you don't always have to be horrid.
Should you be talking to your kid like that? I mean, it feels like Francesca always had a running beef with Henry from time to time. But that's not even close to the worst example I'm gonna show you later. Because I genuinely think Henry's mom is one of the most disgusting cartoon parents ever written. Why don't we start with the most obvious stuff? There's a clear favorite child in this household. And just in case you never noticed, it's Perfect Peter. You know, as opposed to his brother, Horrid Henry. The name pretty much explains the whole situation, right? There are lots of small moments where Peter clearly gets more favor than Henry for no reason. One good example is from the episode Loses Rude Ralph. Peter walks into the fridge and grabs a whole cake, and Mom lets him take it upstairs.
Can I take this to my bedroom? Of course you can.
Then Henry wants some of it too, and for some reason, she just slaps it with a handful of soaps.
Oh, no you don't. It's nearly tea time.
Why? I mean, yes, both get the same warning of it's almost tea time, so don't get full, but come on, those are very different responses. What really makes this scene painful is that Henry saw Peter take it away. Henry saw his mother give his brother a whole cake while sweet-talking him. Meanwhile, Henry, the boy only gets a soapy slap in the hand. Francesca would rather slap the cake and make it go to waste than give it to Henry. That's a core memory in my book, and a bad one. Now, you might be thinking, oh, maybe Henry did something bad previously. That's why he's getting punished after. Well, sadly, that's rarely the case. In that episode, Henry did nothing wrong for the whole episode. He had just got back from searching for Rudolph, who they thought was missing, even though Rudolph was upstairs playing with Peter. See, Francesca just loves to play favorites, even though nothing bad has happened. And even if something bad actually happened, regardless of the culprit, she will make sure Henry gets scolded for it. In the episode Peter's Horrid Day, Peter gets this thing where he thinks Henry is hogging all the attention from their parents, and he wants some of it too. So he thought maybe by doing horrid stuff, he'll get the scolding along with all the attention attached to it. So he starts doing bad things, one of which is replacing the chocolate for the guests with some slugs. It didn't take long for everything to get chaotic. Mom found out the trick, and of course, picking Henry as the scapegoat.
Empty? Henry!
And there's the crazy part. Peter actually admitting he was the real culprit in front of her. But can you guess what Francesca's response was?
But Mom, it was me.
Go to your room right now, Henry.
She never cares about the problem. If anything, she only cares about making sure Henry is a horrid kid and Peter is perfect by comparison, no matter what the situation is. Now, that might sound like an exaggeration to you. Maybe I'm just framing Francesca to make it like she wants Henry to stay bad. Maybe she only made Henry a scapegoat because of the fact that Henry is the one consistently making all the problems, right? But I would argue, by stopping to give your kid the benefit of the doubt, you definitely stop protecting his dignity, which unfortunately, Francesca already did. Sometimes, she acts like Henry is a family embarrassment, and a perfect example is Horrid Henry and the dinner guests. One day, Mom's new bosses are coming over to the house, and suddenly everything turns into a stage. Everything has to look perfect. Everyone has to act perfect. But do you know what that means in this family? It means Peter becomes the little display model, and Henry becomes the embarrassment you need to hide. First, Henry gets put to work, scrubbing, cleaning, running around like unpaid staff.
I want this place spotless for the Mossies. And Henry, it's a grown-ups only evening. You'll be in bed when they arrive.
And right, I know it's Dad who told him that, but come on. Mom definitely said yes to the decision. Or maybe it was her idea, for all we know. Then, they tell Henry he's going to bed early because she doesn't want Henry around the guests. And the contrast is so loud it's almost funny. Because not only does Peter get to stay up, he gets to perform the cello for everyone. So what they're basically saying is, Henry, clean the house, then hide. Peter, stay up and be impressive. That's such a gross parenting move, however you want to see it. Now, if this is just her being obsessed with appearances or images, it would already be bad. But she doesn't stop there. Sometimes, she straight up enjoys him being embarrassed. And that's where Horrid Henry's fairy dance comes in. In the episode, Henry did make some trouble indeed. He tricked Peter into climbing trees at night because he told Peter it was the perfect spot to see fairies. Later, Dad and Mom would see Peter, give him a warning, and that's it. But Mom picks up the camera Peter left and thinks of something ill. Later that night, Mom sneaks into Henry's room with the camera, shoves the embarrassing photo of him wearing the fairy costume in his face, and hits him with,
I think I'll email it to everyone we know. Who would have thought we had a fairy right here in our house?
That's a blackmail. Well, aside from the fact that Henry did have some arguments about fairies and stuff with Mom earlier in the episode, we as adults often forget how big humiliation feels when you're a kid. What we might think of as some stupid moments actually sticks to your brain. It replays in your head. It follows you into schools, into friends, into everything. And Francesca doesn't look guilty doing it. She looks entertained, like she just found a little treat. Still, that's not even close to her worst mistake when it comes to handling him, because at the end of this video, you'll understand why Mom does all of this. But before we get there, we still have to talk about what looks like their smallest mistake, but played a big part in this whole charade. It's how they treated every horrid action in this household. The more you pay attention, the more you will understand that Henry is just reacting to the kind of household he's stuck in. Mom doesn't really talk to Henry like she's trying to raise him, because her solution to basically everything is always the same two sentences. Go to your room, or no TV or tea. Whether Henry did something genuinely wrong, or something that was literally not his fault, the response still lands in the same place. To make it clear, let's take a look at Horrid Henry's dance class. The plot is simple. Peter gets into ballet class. And look, I'm not saying ballet is bad. Ballet is cool, but the point is, Henry clearly doesn't want it. He wants karate instead, which makes complete sense because karate is literally the type of thing that could help a kid like Henry. It gives him structure. It gives him a place to throw all that energy somewhere that isn't just bothering everyone at home. So Henry says what he wants. But sadly, Francesca doesn't even pretend to consider it.
I want to go to karate instead. Don't start that again, Henry. You're doing ballet and that's that.
That line is such a problem because it tells Henry very clearly he doesn't get to pick what he wants. Mom clearly knows what's better for you. And every time Henry pushes back even a little, Mom just sighed and talked about how he's starting it again. Now jump to Horrid Henry Rockstar. Another similar episode where Henry finds something he actually likes. He's into music. He's into drums. He's imagining himself as a rock star. And yes, it's childish. Of course it is. He's a child. They obsess over something for a week and act like it's their destiny. We've all had that. But Francesca doesn't even think twice before killing the dream.
Henry, you are not a rock star, and you never will be.
She never once thinks about how this might be the one for Henry. Like, maybe try to support it first. Like, okay, but not at midnight and lower the volume kind of stuff. Heck, even if she doesn't have faith in Henry being a rock star, at least let him decide by himself. I mean, if he's not serious enough about it, he'll stop soon enough. Instead of doing that, you're just telling your kid that having a dream is not realistic enough. And as contradictory as that sentence is, that's how it's supposed to feel like as a kid. So after all that, you'd start questioning what's left for Henry at this point. Well, he's clearly not the favorite, but at least she would actually guide him, right? Maybe explain things, teach him, do the bare minimum for parenting. Yeah, about that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest points of parenting is that you need to guide your children to be smarter, right? Both intellectually and emotionally. That's why you're supposed to explain the whys and hows and everything, so the next time they actually know what to do. You don't just hand out consequences and punishment like you're a parking officer. However, Francesca's problem is she skips that part almost every time. Let me show you what I mean with Horrid Henry, Horrid Boy. One day, Henry unintentionally drops a paper in the kitchen, so Mom picks it up and reads it. What it was is basically a letter of observation where teachers will observe and grade students' strengths and weaknesses. So, obviously, Mom's a bit worried, right? Well, she is, but not purely for Henry.
Well, we'll just have to make sure they don't find out what Henry's really like, won't we?
Why?
They might think we're really bad parents if they find out what Henry's really like.
See what I mean? She's more concerned that people will view them as bad parents for failing to raise Henry properly. And her plan is basically, we're gonna give Henry a new lifestyle for the whole week, or at least until the observation is done. Now, Henry gets a bunch of weird vegetable sandwiches. They had an exercise program before tea time. Dad's forced Henry to listen to proper music only.
What's that?
And now, being healthy and having a good taste in music is fine. However, that didn't change the bad decision here, you see, because they really just care about the results more than anything else. They forced Henry to look like he likes the sandwiches at school. Dad's the one doing all the homework by himself. But the real worst decision of all of it is that Mom and Dad filled the questionnaire that was supposed to be done by Henry. They did this just so they could say that Henry never watches TV, never eats sweets, only loves classical music, all that role model student stuff, okay? But then, why even bother? Shouldn't the goal be to get an accurate read on Henry's life and then reevaluate what should be changed in the education system? By justifying any means to make Henry look like the perfect student on paper is like giving up on Henry, as if you think the boy is never going to accomplish that or change in the slightest. So the only option is lying? And if there's any good point in this episode, is that the school actually knows what they're doing. Because when Henry got back, he gave them a letter from school which basically said, it's not a healthy life.
He doesn't watch TV or play computer games. He only eats strange vegetable sandwiches. All these things are really not normal for a boy of his age. So we would like to recommend that you attend a course to learn how to be better parents?
Even the school at least acknowledges it's normal to be like Henry, because that's what a child does. Playing around and being dumb and trying stuff. And yet, even after all that, Mom and Dad still managed to surprise us with one last comment.
But that's good, isn't it?
Apparently not.
They still didn't get it. They're confused with the concept of being a kid with no fun is not a healthy thing. I'm truly lost for words. All this time, they never liked Henry because they believed Henry represented every single thing a kid shouldn't do in their childhood. That's why they give the horrid label. That's why they were embarrassed for Henry meeting a guest. This is why they love Peter in all his glory, because he's everything they wanted. A boring kid with little to no fault. That explained everything, and honestly, truly disgusting. So, yeah, that's why I said at the very beginning, rewatching Horrid Henry as an adult is weirdly concerning. You realize it's not a joke anymore. Francesca was always someone who wanted a perfect child, and yet she got mad when she realized she had to raise a real one. Truly the most disgusting parent ever written. But you know what's crazy? For all the episodes we've talked about, we still haven't even talked about the moment where the show itself crosses the line. There's one Horrid Henry episode that the fans considered went too far. So, if you want the next part of this, I'm doing a whole video on that exact episode. The Horrid Henry episode fans think crossed the line. I'll break down what happens, why it had to be like that, and even why people who grew up loving the show still side-eye it now. I'll see you there.